Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education. I am your narrator, Frank Avella. In this video, I'll be covering everything you ever needed to know about having classroom discussion. Let's begin with the question of why educators should use classroom discussions in their practice. Classroom discussions are a student-centered activity. With discussions, students are participating, asking questions, and answering questions. Students will develop their oral language skills and abilities. Oral language actually lays the foundation for reading and writing skills as well. If done correctly, class discussions are a form of critical thinking. Centered discussions around evaluation and analysis of an issue of a complex problem. Teachers can have amazing debates and arguments. With discussions, teachers easily inject and provide meaningful feedback to an entire class of students. And let's not forget that most students enjoy classroom discussions because they are quite engaged. It also gives children a voice. On to the next section, which covers how educators can design effective questions for classroom discussions. First off, when designing questions, you want to incorporate higher order thinking skill. Educators should make use of Bloom's taxonomy and Webb's depth of knowledge. Questions must be both challenging and answerable by the student. The terms and wording of the discussion questions should be analyzed and examined carefully. Too often questions are biased. For classroom discussions, open discussions are warranted. Closed discussions are answered in a simple yes or no fashion, whereas open discussions are a bit more complex. Encourage students to elaborate on initial questions. Therefore, have elaboration questions ready to follow up. The next section up is the how-to of classroom discussions. So, the first thing you want to do as a teacher is to set goals for your classroom discussion. Think, what do you want students to learn? What specific concepts should they have mastery and understanding of? Teachers need to establish protocols for behavior and classroom etiquette for the discussions. This is necessary so that all students get to participate. Next is to incorporate the discussion activities into your lesson planning. Look at the question on a macro level and think how it fits into the curriculum. At first, teachers need to lead the discussions. Then, as time goes on, allow students to carry out the discussion themselves. And lastly, stay committed to having classroom discussions be a typical classroom activity. There are times that discussions can go off the rail. Right now, I want to pause real quick and ask that you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button too. Please check the description link for resources as well. Now, we'll take a look at some specific strategies and examples of classroom discussion activities. One well-known strategy is concentric circles, known to most educators. Questions are posed to students in circles, and there are many variations to do this. Fishbowl discussions involve a few students in the middle of the room having a discussion, while others watch and take notes from the outside, like watching fish. Gallery walks I have always enjoyed, as well as most students. Students walk the room and view posters as small groups. Then they discuss what they see. The last example is the round table discussion format. In this method, it's more simply a bouncing off of ideas to each other. Next up, we'll look at some guidelines for implementation of classroom discussions. So before you pose any discussion question, be sure your students have the prior and prerequisite knowledge needed to answer the question. Remember, discussions are high order thinking. The discussion should be structured from beginning to end, beginning with a posing question, and it should end with formative assessments of students' understanding of the topic. Speaking of topics, introduce questions with many different perspectives. You want to have diversity of thought and opinion, thus getting many students involved. Teachers should create and foster a warm atmosphere during the discussion. Teachers must intervene at any and all disrespectful and hurtful comment. Some teachers are moving to online discussions. Many colleges and universities have classes meet online, where discussions are graded. Teachers should prepare students for this. The next section up is teacher tips. Just a few pointers for teachers. First off, after asking a question, give the students some time to digest and think about how they want to respond to the question. Don't rush. I suggest that teachers intervene when discussions get off topic. And trust me, students will take it off topic. This may sound obvious, but teachers must pay attention during the discussion. Don't go to your desk and finish your lesson plan. At the end of the discussion, always summarize what was discussed and learned. You may have to make some corrections. Nonetheless, summarize near the end. During the discussion, the teacher may need to step in and clarify certain things that were said. Sometimes students have a hard time expressing their ideas. And lastly, during these discussions, you hear some great ideas and student interest will become apparent. Try and incorporate these ideas into your classroom. Now on to the last section of the video, which is technology. There are a number of different platforms that teachers can use to hold online discussions. A recent trend is using Twitter, however most educators use Google products such as Google Classroom, Hangouts, Chats, and more. Next, teachers must familiarize students with the chosen platform. Students need to be shown and taught how to use the platform. Other important ways to prepare students for the platform use include setting behavioral expectations for online communication. As students begin to have regular online discussions, teachers must closely monitor the behavior and specifically what was written. You need to keep a close eye. Lastly, assign grades for these discussions. More and more colleges and universities are using this method as both an activity and an assessment. So again, right now I want to say thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit that thumbs up button, check the description link for resources,